Hello, guys, and welcome back to the 8th episode of Pick Up the Mic. So today I'm joined with Sam and Jeffrey. So do you guys want to say a quick hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
Everyone, welcome back.
Great stuff. So today we're joined by Shilpa, and we're going to be talking about university applications in this episode. So Shilpa, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Oh, hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm just so happy to be part of such a great initiative, really.
Yeah, no, it's great that you're on. So could you just quickly tell us, just introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure, yeah. So as mentioned, my name is Shilpa. I am 23 years old. I studied biochemistry at the University of Nottingham for my undergrad, and I'm currently working as a management consultant in the financial services. And I also love to dance, eat, and read. And I run a little blog on Instagram called Late Afternoon Thoughts. So yeah, that's me.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself. So what kind of dance do you do?
Oh, I actually do Bollywood. I joined a Indian Dance Society at university, which was half of my university life, and it was so great. So we do a bit of street and hip hop and a little bit of classical, but it's all to Indian music, so it's classed under Bollywood.
That's so cool. It's so energetic as well, isn't it? It's
oh yeah, you have to have fun while you're dancing. That's the only rule in Bollywood. It's amazing.
I once went to there's a Lido here, so it's like a little fake beach. It's actually got sand, and I was just there lying on the beach with my mates, and this whole troupe of Bollywood dancers, they decided to do their practice on the beach, and it was literally the coolest thing, to see the choreographed dance. It's just
yeah, we used to take part in university competitions, so I know what you mean. They just look so amazing when everything comes together.
Yeah, I tried to get my friend to teach me, but he I think I'm pretty much a lost cause. So,
don't say that.
Yeah, I'll give it another go. But yeah, so what motivated you to start Late Afternoon Thoughts, your blog?
Well, initially I started it as a small private account in my third year of university. I just felt that I needed a place to rant and collect my thoughts. But it also helped me articulate what I was feeling and work through things for myself, sort of like a journal. But then as the years passed, I realized that my situations resonated with a lot of people and that my account helped them feel heard and represented. So I'm really grateful for where the platform is now and how much it's grown. And more than everything, my followers and the people who keep me going with their comments and messages. I basically just want to bring more attention to the ways in which we can help ourselves, particularly in communities in the ethnic minorities, where things like mental health aren't really prioritized.
That's really, really nice. And I love how what started off as your own sort of well-being journal turned into the well-being journal for so many people. I think that's the case because there are so many times, especially with ethnic minority groups, where you think something's happened to me that I've experienced, but maybe I'm just thinking it in my head, and maybe some people want you to think that, but actually it's good to then hear your thoughts. People say, actually, I can relate to that. I think that too. I'm not actually crazy. I'm not imagining it. It happens. So really, really good.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you for that, Shilpa. And I think it's really amazing to learn how you started Late Afternoon Thoughts. And I think, if anyone isn't following it on Instagram, definitely check it out. There's a lot of inspiring and motivational things there. And, the quotes that you put there as well it's definitely made me, reflect on things throughout the day. So yeah, I guess I can say thank you very much for that. But yeah, now let's I guess go at another aspect. So, from your introduction, we know that you've gone through your undergrad, you're currently in you've I guess experienced, you're in the workplace, you're working, and you've gone through the uni experience. Now, I guess thinking back, even maybe you can, if you want to link it to, the current situation in the world right now with COVID, you're more than welcome to. But what are some of the difficulties that can arise during university applications? There's obviously difficulties that can arise with anything, but with linking into the theme of university applications, just what are some of the difficulties that can arise for for students, especially when they're applying, whether it's for undergrads or postgrads?
Well, I think there are a lot of different types of issues that can arise when applying to university, and that can be mental, financial, or just practical issues. And for example, I know that when I was applying to university, I really struggled with not knowing which course to choose, fear of rejection, figuring out practically which location was best for me, which university was best for me. Finances is obviously a huge thing. Things like self-worth. When you're writing your personal statement, it's difficult to make yourself sound unique. And as an 18-year-old, it's difficult to give yourself such a intense personality that, you know, you really convey it to whoever is reading it. And it's difficult to put that all on paper. So there's a lot of pressure with university applications because it really defines you and your self-worth. There's just a few of my list, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely right. I think, especially when, like you said, I think like you highlighted, the personal statement, most young people, now I know some sixth forms and some colleges do like personal statements, but they're never on the same, standard that has to be expected for a university one. And that means that most young people haven't really written a statement about themselves. And like you said, this whole uncertainty of, because I know for myself, like Brunel wasn't the university that I was intending to go to. It wasn't the one that, when I was applying, I was just like, this is the one that I want to go to. It's one of the ones where I said, I've heard good things about it. But it wasn't. And I know that some people, when, in looking back, there were times when I was just like, oh my gosh, if I don't get to the one that I want to, like, what's my life going to be like? How am I going to, I guess, enjoy life and, be successful in my career, in the career path that I go on to. So I think you're definitely right that there are these difficulties that can arise for young people when they do the whole like application process.
Yeah. And I think especially at 18, it's such a huge amount of pressure to put on yourself because you think that your whole life is in your hands right now. But the reality is that any point after 18, you will feel like your whole life is in your hands.
Exactly.
So yeah, honestly, just take it easy. Obviously take it seriously, but don't stress yourself out too much. Cut yourself some slack. It's like you won't be the same person as you were when you applied to university when you leave. So inevitably, it's just a short-term thing.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you very much for that.
So yeah, thanks for that, Shilpa. I mean, you touched upon how you didn't know which course you wanted to do and how to make yourself, kind of seem unique in your personal statement. So now, as a 23-year-old, what advice would you give your past self, or anyone in that position that you were in about, applying to universities?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be don't stress unnecessarily. Like I mentioned, you will feel like your whole life is in your hands and everything for the next 50, 60 years is going to depend on what university you go to. But honestly, like anyone above the age of 20 will tell you that that's not true. Especially once you get to university, try not to stress unnecessarily about things like job prospects, because in this day and age, it really doesn't matter what kind of course you do to get into jobs, because a lot of industries are looking for things like thought diversity. So you could do something like philosophy and go into investment banking. It's really flexible now. So I would say if you're thinking of what course to do, choose the course that either you're good at or you enjoy. Don't choose something for the sake of going into a profession, because times are very different now. So yeah, when you go into university, it is also one of the first times that you're finally in charge of yourself. And it can be pretty easy to neglect things like your health and your well-being. So don't do that. Exercise when you can. Take time to be alone with your thoughts. Give yourself the mental space to perform to your best ability. But also value things like social lives and really step out of your comfort zone, because that's one thing I definitely didn't do. And I missed out a lot of opportunities because things like studying abroad, I was really afraid of it. But my friends that did things like that won't stop going on about it now. And it was really life-changing for them. So university is the time to step out of your comfort zone. And that could be even in the form of going into a university that you initially didn't plan to. For example, like Jeffrey, you didn't plan to go to Brunel, but obviously you might not have started a podcast and had such a great platform at this time if it wasn't for that. So things definitely do work out for the best.
Yeah, that's really true. And then, so going back to what you were saying about people thinking that, their whole lives depend on this one crucial moment.
Yeah,
that's not true, because even when you go to university, you might think this is what I'm going to do. You might end up not completing that course. You might think, no, this is not for me. I want to do this instead. And fine, you want to, if you take a year or two to realize that, it's not the end of the world, because you're so young, isn't it?
Definitely.
So you have so much time in your life. Just exactly like you said, don't stress. Just take it as it comes. Everything will happen. Whatever has to happen will happen. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. And when you're going to university, you will think that, okay, this is the biggest decision I'll make. When you choose a job, you'll be like, okay, this is the biggest decision I'll make. when you get a house or marry someone, or at every point you'll think it's so big, but
in the big picture,
exactly,
it's not. Really, really good answer.
And just one thing I wanted to add on to that. I think, like you said, that sometimes not always getting what you want isn't what you need is definitely a key thing that I got from what you were saying. And you're definitely right. I think even like we could all probably pick at least one moment in our life where, we wanted one thing, whether it was, like you said, like a job, or, a certain university you wanted to go into, or things like that. And you just, you didn't get it, but then it worked out in the end and it was really good, I think is definitely key. And like you said, the idea of, making the most out of things is definitely true. I think that's one of the things that I've always realized in life is, always like try and, get outside your comfort zone, because there are some times when, you'll do something and it'll just be amazing. And you'll just, those are experiences that will just stick with you for life. So like you said, like this podcast, if, I never applied to Brunel, I wouldn't have met Sam, wouldn't have met Nanushka, and we wouldn't even be doing this podcast. So I think it's one of those things where it's just, you never know really where life is going to take you, and you never know where you're going to meet people or what you're going to do. Just, sometimes allowing yourself to get outside your comfort zone and try these new things is definitely key. So thank you very much for that.
No problem.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I actually worked for the welcome group for the university as a guiding people when they first come in like this room, giving them information on all the things that they can do. And I normally go off script and just try and recommend that they just join absolutely everything they can. Like, just don't hold back. Could be a sport, could be a society, could be, learning dance, could be learning anything. Like, I felt that, the amount of skills I picked up just like randomly just being like, I'm going to give this a go at uni is probably like immense. Like art classes, pottery classes, different random sports. I can play lacrosse now. Just like so much you can do, so many skills, and just like there's so many courses on at uni as well, like these like extracurricular things that for like new people I do find like just try and like push them into it as much as possible, because even if you feel like, I don't know anyone, I don't know, how am I gonna like make friends, what if they've already made friends or whatever. It's just like, it doesn't matter, like everyone's new at uni and everyone will pick you up and go along with you. It's all part of like a joint experience.
Yeah.
So from this one piece of advice that you would, many bits of advice that you give your younger self, which is such a good question to ask actually. But how did you find the process itself, like applying to university, like as a whole?
Oh, I just remember it being so long and excruciating. The wait was such a struggle, and like you've got exams to focus on, but at the back of your mind you'll constantly be thinking about, oh, has my UCAS updated, and you check it obsessively, right? I mean, I don't know if it's still the same now, but we'd have to like log on the computer and refresh all the time. but yeah, as in the weight was definitely one thing. And I did actually get rejected from one university that I applied to, which was York. And I remember taking that quite hard because, you know, like I mentioned, your self-worth is kind of riding on something like that. But all in all, the process was such a learning curve, I think, for me as a person, because I realized what things I valued more. Would I go for a university that, you know, is just top of the league table just for the sake of it, or would I go for something like Nottingham, which was much more well-rounded, had a dance team, had a great like location and campus? It made me realize the things that I value the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Did Nottingham have did they have the black tie event, or is that just a rumour?
Ooh, like formals?
Yeah, formals, that's it.
Yeah, we did. There are a lot of like houses and like old buildings and stuff that were some accommodations, and they'd have formals and balls all the time. I was in like a self-catered one just off campus, but a lot of my friends were on the catered ones on campus, and they were all like super old, traditional, formal type things.
Yeah, I've heard about that, but like just like when you don't get to go where you want to go, sometimes it just opens you up to new experiences that like you wouldn't have picked it like before.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's really
The process really isn't for the faint-hearted anyway, but it will definitely like it will be the first thing that really shows you what the real world is like, and that, you know, not everyone's going to like you. And you have to be okay with that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah,
exactly. I guess like, I mean, if you're always like worried about like, will someone like me if I do this, or will someone like me if I do that? If someone like you, they'll find any excuse not to like you anyway. So you might as well
and honestly, you could have just been rejected from a university because, you know, you didn't use one word that they liked on the personal statement. So it's nothing to take personally or to heart or anything like that. But you start to realize what your values are, and what really matters to you as a person.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think one of the things that, I don't know if you guys experienced this as well, my siblings gave me this advice and other people did as well, was the day that everyone was saying this, like the day leading up to results day, they was like, you're going to get emails from universities beforehand because they get the results, so they'll tell you whether you're in or not. And then everyone was just like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't get an email from this university. Does this mean that I didn't get in? And there's like all this thing, like right up to the lead up of results day. And I know even myself, like I was just like, I'm not going to check. I was just like, I'm not going to look at, I think I removed my email from my phone. I'm just like, I'm not going to turn my laptop on before I go to school. I'm going to go to school, get my results. On the way to school, look on UCAS, see if I got in. If I got in, like regardless of the grades, I don't even care. As long as I'm at university, I'm going to be happy. Luckily, like Brunel was my second choice. I got in, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go through clearing to try and get into another university. If Brunel will take me, I was like, I'm honestly happy that I just got in anyways. But yeah, I don't know if you guys, it was the same, like this idea of everyone was saying like, don't check your emails, or, you know, be on the eye out for emails. If you don't get an email, it means that they didn't accept you. But yeah, I just wanted to know if that was, you know, the same experience that you guys went through as well.
Oh, for sure. Like, I remember just being on edge all the time, and your stomach would be turning, especially when you're going to school to pick up the results and everything, or on the day. I think some people's updated earlier than 8 a.m. and I was one of those people. So I was up since like 6, just refreshing the page, and the whole email thing, completely agree. It was, I don't even know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because there's kind of a thrill when you look back at it. But at the time, I'm pretty sure I was just scared.
No, honestly, I completely agree. And I think that was one of the things that, like afterwards, I saw like once I'd gotten my results, because I think I logged into UCAS when I first woke up, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm in Savannah now. And it wasn't until like later on that I saw they sent me an email like yesterday night. But I was just like, I don't even want to check. Because I was like, if I do check and it's not there, I'm going to get panicky and I'm going to start worrying. And I was just like, as long as I check UCAS on the day, that will be it. But I know even like in group chats and stuff, like people are just messaging to be like, check your emails. Some people are just like, don't check your emails. Some people are like, before even they've gotten their results, like the day before, or like you said, like the morning, they got the results and were just like, yeah, I haven't even collected my results and I got into like this university. And then I know there were some of my friends who were just like, they were just like, oh my gosh, like I didn't get an email. This means that I didn't get in. Oh my gosh, da, 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 da. And then they checked UCAS and they had got in. It was just that the university had emailed them late. So yeah, I think definitely that's one of the things. I don't know if anymore that's like an issue, like if they've fixed it, because I know with like everything being online now, there's this whole discussion of university, maybe the way that UCAS do their email systems might change, and they'll only send results to universities rather than ahead of results day. They'll only get the results on the day now, or like literally the day before, so they can email all the students. But yeah, I don't know if that's like, if that process, if anyone listening, if you're doing university applications and you haven't experienced the email thing, I definitely would recommend do not check your emails the day before. And regardless of what anyone tells you about like they've got it or whatever, until it hits results day and you've got the email, you've gone UCAS and you've checked to see if you're into a university or not, that's when you should just that should be your decision. Don't be concerned about the email, because I guess one last thing before we move on, is I don't know if it was true, but I think people were telling me that they heard stories that some people had been emailed by universities that they'd gotten in, but actually on UCAS it said that they hadn't. And the fact is they hadn't gotten in, they'd been rejected. But then some universities, because the whole system is automated sometimes, or because there's a large list of students, sometimes their names just get lost, and some students are like given a place. And this might not be true. This might just be something that people say to deter you from checking your emails or not trusting your emails and only trusting UCAS. But yeah, literally, I heard that and I was just like, oh my gosh, like that's why I definitely don't want. I definitely don't want to check my emails then. So yeah, I think definitely the email thing would be my advice to anyone listening. Just check UCAS on the day of results. If you get a call or a text from the university as well on the day, then I mean that sorts you out. But yeah, I'd highly recommend. It's up to you, but I'd highly recommend don't check your email.
I just wanted to mention that choosing what was best for me was also a pretty big sort of issue for me, because there were influences. I wouldn't say pressure from like family and friends. I was in a long distance relationship at the time, so I started to take in other people's feelings or like wants into consideration, which I wouldn't really recommend, especially because you're so young. You feel like other people have a bigger role in your life than they actually do. So I'd say try and figure out what's best for you and try to apply to universities that really align with you and your values and your interests. But yeah, just stick up for yourself. I don't know if any of you have been in the same position where maybe friends going to another university influences you choosing which uni you go to.
Yeah, I mean, friends, I think when you're in school, it's like friends are the be all and end all of it. Like you just don't want to ever leave them.
Yeah.
But the reality is friends come and friends go. Like you'll make new friends at uni. Like again, if I hadn't come to Brunel, same as Jeffrey said, I would have never met Jeffrey and I wouldn't have met Sam. But I'm not saying friends are temporary, but you do end up kind of going your own ways.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
You have opportunities to meet friends at any point in your life, and you should really take them.
Yeah, and exactly. And you shouldn't do something because your friend is doing it, because that's like 100%, that's not going to be the right thing for you. You have to, in a way, you have to be selfish.
Yeah, definitely. Because even though, like I said, it's not your whole life, but it's step one. So, make the best decision that you can for yourself.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Shilpa. And I think it's definitely, I think, and it's one of the things that we said, is all about this podcast is we all come from like different experiences. We all have different journeys. We've all been through the UCAS application process. And we all know like there are ultimately difficulties when you do want to apply to university. And I think, the advice that we all gave there was like really important for anyone who does want to apply to university, whether it's undergraduate or postgraduate. I hope they do take that advice. But yeah, now we come to the students might know that the process is difficult. But we want to, give them that bit of hope. So the question I'd like to ask you is, where can students find support on the university application process? So where should students go if they're looking, whether it's they need support on, like personal statements or, working around UCAS, things like that, or, even student finance is another thing that I guess it's not, linked to the UCAS process, but it's still something that when you're applying to uni, you still have to apply for student finance. So where could students go to get support on this is my question to you.
Well, luckily, we do live in the age of the internet, which is such a great thing. And I would definitely recommend do every single Google search combination that you can possibly imagine about going to university, which university you want to go to, which accommodation you want to stay at. And I definitely say things like YouTube are very, very useful now. I applied in 2015, 2016, so there weren't as many YouTubers around then. But right now there is so much information out on that platform, and people exactly like us who have been through the process and even like give their tips and sort of like advice on how to write personal statements. So definitely utilize something like YouTube. I know there are Instagram accounts as well. I'll try and give these guys a link if I do find any, if I do remember any. But I would also recommend checking out the university's websites, because I know for a fact that Nottingham has its own blog that they get university students to write, talking about their application process, how they found accommodation, even life at university, like what does a typical week look like, how do they budget, just everything about the social and practical life of living at university. UCAS also has blogs now, which I don't think it did when I applied, but it is really, really useful about, like, it's got information about how to write your personal statement, what kind of universities are different in which way. So definitely I'd say check out UCAS. And then I think there are forums like the Student Room. I'm not really sure if people use that anymore, but back in my day, that was so popular. Like there were so many threads and chains about people going for courses, people going to certain universities, people going through the same financial issues. So there are a lot of other like university students or school students, who are going through the same thing as you. And it was really nice to see that, you're not alone. And also build your network, speak to family members, friends or friends' siblings that you might know, or just reach out to people through social media or LinkedIn. And this is advice that I give to anyone all the time anyway. Try and find mentors, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to turn down an opportunity to like talk about themselves or their journey. And it could really benefit both you and them. And just build out your network. Don't be shy, because you're going to gain something from it. And just utilize the internet. That's all I'd say.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. And even I know, like you said, like times has changed, because I applied in, I think it was 2016 I applied, and 2017 was when I started. But yeah, like you said, like there's been changes. Like there's blogs. Like you said, there's blogs that you can go on. I think the Student Room still is around. If not the Student Room, I've forgotten what it's called, but there are like websites where students themselves rate universities on specific things. So it's not like the National Statistics Survey. It's like stuff like the students rate like access to the city centre, or access to if it's in London, like how close is it to central London. Like the nightlife is another one, like lecturers or support systems within the university. So there are things that I know students might be thinking, or people listening might be thinking, oh, well, if it's something by the university, then they're most likely to promote it. But there also are students within universities that like start up their own like blog series that talk about their experience, and they show off like their accommodation, or they speak about their day-to-day life at university. I know Brunel themselves also have been like getting in contact with students to like show off like there's a facilities one that shows the different like facilities on campus and like lecture centres. And so even if you're unsure, even like, let's say you've gotten into the university and you're still unsure about the support systems there, or you're still not sure, because, you know, obviously once you've applied, you can still change unis. Like, just think about using those resources to just help you. I think is definitely a key thing for people to, you know, take forward.
For sure, yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thanks for that answer, Shilpa. It's really good to see how much support there is for, you know, for first of all, university applications, and then also, I'm not going to lie, the amount of support that there is once you're at university, because that's a big change, is a jump. It's really good that, you know, there's so much out there. But I know that you touched upon like not knowing about the cost of living out when you went to uni. I know you touched upon that in one of the other questions. So what do you think that, you know, prospective university applicants should consider when they are applying to university?
Well, I think obviously it differs from person to person because everyone comes from different backgrounds, and you know, the things that are important to everyone is all across the board. But certainly if you're looking at academics, then look at things like league tables, read reviews, speak to people who have been there, try to find out what kind of professors they have. But if something like location is more important to you, if you want to be in the Midlands, if you want to be in London, then explore your options in that way and look at things like transport links, because I know rail fares are really expensive in the UK, which is not a great thing. But for example, my first choice university was actually Manchester, and the amount of bills I would have racked up going to and from London and Manchester, it would have been insane. Like, I think it's over £100 for a return sometimes. So it's, again, very lucky that I went to Nottingham because, well, it was still like £35, but it was a lot less than what it could have been. So yeah, look at things like that because that will also contribute to your cost of living. And yeah, things like budgeting, try to find out what an average budget looks like on a weekly basis in the place that you're looking at. Like we all know, London is going to be more expensive than somewhere like Nottingham. If you plan to have a social life, try to look at what kind of clubs and things there are, because I know a couple of friends that have gone to Kiel and they actually only have one club there.
Oh.
Yeah. That was a huge surprise to them because they didn't realize. So yeah, do your research, and if things like extracurriculars matter to you, definitely look into what societies the university has. Maybe speak to friends who have, or older friends who have been to university and what kind of experience they've had through societies, because you'll find that most often the things that you take away from university are experiences rather than, what you learn on the course.
Yeah.
So I know I applied to universities that had a dance team and it made a huge difference because even now when I apply to jobs and things, I can say that I learned so much by being part of a dance team, things like discipline, team management, all of those things just through being in a dance team. So definitely take into consideration the things that you enjoy. If you enjoy sports, then go for a university that has really good sports facilities. But yeah, like I said, the things that are important to you should trump the things that are important to other people. So even if you think, this university isn't top of the league table, but it's really good in my course, then stick to your gut and go for what you think will be the best thing to do for yourself. Because at the end of the day, you want a degree that was really worth it rather than just going to a university for the sake of it.
For the status and the name.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, people are so much more open-minded now. It's not really like you have to go to Russell Group, otherwise you won't get a job.
Exactly.
So yeah, use that to your benefit. But yeah, I think, do you guys have anything to add?
I think what you were saying about the budgeting. One thing I think that people need to think about is learning to cook. Now, I'm not saying anything extravagant, but I mean, just the basics to get you by, because otherwise you're going to be spending money on like takeaways or living on pot noodles and stuff like that. That is definitely one thing to bear in mind.
Definitely. And those bills rack up like Just Eat or Uber Eats, that those £5 will add up so quickly.
Exactly. And then sometimes you're like, oh, I'll just treat myself to a bit more. And treating yourself is another thing. You say like, oh, I'll just treat myself to this. You know, I did really well in this assignment or this exam. Like, yeah, you know, I deserve it. And yeah, it kind of sort of spirals out of control sometimes.
Yeah, I know life is short, but there is a time when you will be able to spend excessively on clothes or food or whatever. But
it's not right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so true. And like you were saying as well, extracurricular is so important. Like something outside your course just to give you that bit of relaxation, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think from me, I would say the thing you raised about rail is definitely important, because I didn't know this until my sister told me. I don't know. For students, if you connect your student Oyster card to your, I think it's the 18. There's so many Oyster cards nowadays.
It's the rail card and the Oyster card.
Yeah, you can connect them both, and you get, I think it's like 23% off any rail ticket.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
and it's automatic. And I was just like, I didn't even know this was a thing. But when she told me, I was just like, that's perfect, because the amount of times like you'll just be traveling. And what's good is, I think even if you connect it on your Oyster card and you don't have your Oyster card, if you go to the ticket office or the ticket machine, they'll give you a code that you just have to type in to say that you're a student, you know, this is why you should be getting a discount, and it'll just go through. And, you know, connecting your Oyster card to a rail card doesn't actually take that long. All you have to do is install the app. And then when you go out with your Oyster card, just take it to if you go to the ticket machine, you just have to make sure one of the members of staff is free, but just tell them that you've got a rail card, you want to link the two, and then it's like a simple thing on the app that they'll give you a code that you just have to tell the person that they have to type in. But yeah, that was one of the things I didn't know about. And it's one of the things that, you know, not knowing that is definitely important. Even, so like I've never lived on campus at Brunel, and I commute from like central London through the Metropolitan line, and it's not that bad. I won't complain. But one of the things that that, you know, I didn't necessarily do in my first year, which I definitely should have, was the idea of like, how much do you put on your Oyster card? Because at first I'd be like, you know what, I'll just put like, I don't know, like £20 on my Oyster card. That will be cool. No. And then like through budgeting and like through my family's budgeting, like we then equated that it's, especially depending on the number of days you go into university a week, it makes more sense for you to like pay for a travel card, like whether it's weekly. Like I think weekly was the one that I used the most, because weekly just worked. And then occasionally when I was traveling more often, I did do monthly. But it's better for you to have a travel card and just use that, because you don't have to pay for the bus with the travel card, which is great to save £1.50. And then you don't have to, like, as long as you're traveling within zones 2 to 6, like whether it's, or well, for me personally, but whichever zones you're traveling within, it just makes travel so much easier, because you're then not like, you know, if it's a day when you're not at university, you're just, or, you know, you're traveling around London, and let's say you're only going around, I don't know, like zones 2 to 3, then you're not just like, oh man, I'm going to have to put more money on, and that's going to, no, like you're basically sorted. So just that budgeting of knowing, like, if I'm going to be at university 4 days a week, and I know I'm going to be I'm going to be working, whether it's, you know, your office or, you know, obviously not now, but like, once COVID's over, like whether you'll be traveling loads after university, whether it's on weekends or, you know, in the evenings of certain days, then just think about doing that, and that'll be like a real huge help. But yeah, I think definitely budgeting and like knowing your way around the rail system is definitely key. It's definitely key advice for anyone to take from today.
Yeah, that reminds me of a few things actually. It's so important to start learning those money habits while you're in university, even though it seems like it's just £1 or £1.50. It's really important to save wherever you can and know exactly how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, because you don't want to go into the adult world or the working world and still not have a clue. because it's a lot easier to spend money in the adult world, and you have a lot more things to spend it on, and you really want to, you're setting yourself up for your future at that point. So you really want to have those money habits in check. So yeah, definitely start in university. And the other thing I was going to say is that some banks, when you open up student accounts with them, will give you a rail card. So that's what happened with me. And it saved me so much money. Like, I think you're right. Like, it's a third off rail prices, 16 to 25, between the ages of 16 and 25, sorry. And yeah, that's saved me so much money because I didn't have a car and I traveled by train everywhere to visit friends or to go back home. And yeah, it made a huge difference. So things like banks that will give you discounts, or even websites like, oh my God, I've forgotten, which just goes to show how old I am. What's the Uni Days, right? So things like
Uni Days.
And NUS, I think, they do discounts. So even if you want to just shop on Misguided or Pretty Little Thing, just take that 10-20% off because it will save you a few quid. So yeah, just take whatever opportunities you can to save money.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think, yeah, like you said, that if you don't start it now, like when I think especially it's one of those things that hits you when you go straight into the working world after you graduate, because I think that was one of the things. So I did a work placement, and that was one of the things that my siblings always like raised to me, is that, you know, everyone's up for drinks on Fridays, like, you know, whether it's like going to the pub or whatever. But then it's one of those things where if you think about, like, depending on how much the person like buys, whether they eat a meal as well, or, you know, depending on the amount of drinks they buy or what drink they buy, like that price just accumulates. And if you do that every Friday, it's just like so much money that you're essentially like just wasting. And yeah, I think you're right. And I guess, you know, giving a bit of, I guess, a shout out to Tesco's. Like Tesco says, like every little helps.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like when it comes to budgeting and, you know, thinking about like your own expenditure and how much you're spending on things, especially as a uni student, like that whole idea of every little helps. Of, you know, if I saved £1.50 on my bus travel, that means I've got more money for other things later on. Even like, and I guess it links into what you're saying about the offers and deals, is, you know, using that. I'm trying to think if it's on Uni Days or NUS. I think so. There's the Spotify one that you can get. Like if you're a student anywhere, just as long as they'll just ask for you to log into your university, whatever like platform you use to log in, just to log in, and then, you know, instead of paying £10, you pay £5, which is great. And what's great about that is it even lasts like after you're a student. So it lasts not for like forever, but it lasts for a bit after you're a student as well, which is a huge help. But I know even like at Brunel, they do the Amazon one, the Amazon Prime 6 months student discount as well. So yeah, there are loads of discounts out there that you can use, even if it's just like for the time being. They're so super helpful. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. So yeah, well, thank you very much, everyone. I think it's been an amazing episode, amazing discussion. And I guess before we go on to the next section, I just want to remind people that while talking about university applications, you know, we're not only talking, and I said this before, you know, we're not only talking about undergraduate applications, we're talking about applications in university applications in general. So whether it's like a PhD one, whether it's postgrads, like do take into account that, you know, it's the same experience for everyone. Now I know even from personal experience, you know, there's, you know, once you feel like, especially if you've done an undergrad, you know, and you're going for a postgrad, you know, you know what you're doing. But trust me, like from a personal experience, I went back on UCAS. I think it was maybe last week or the week before, and yes, it's changed. It's completely changed. And I got on there and I was just like, oh my gosh, like all this information, like I had to rethink about how I was doing it. So yeah, so don't feel like any of this advice doesn't apply to you if you're not doing, if you've already done a undergrad and you're doing like a postgrad or a PhD or anything like that. It genuinely does. So please do take that advice when you do those applications. But yeah, we're now going to go on to the MC of the month. So the MC of the month, I'm sure some of you may be able to guess from the title, is definitely UCAS. Like I said before, they really, I think it's been 4 years, I think, since I applied, 4 or 5 years, and it's, the website has changed so much. Even like, in the lead up, I know they sent like loads of resources regarding like discounts on stationery and discounts on, like, if you're looking to live on campus, these are some discounts at some furniture stores. So they were definitely really good with having these resources. And I do believe now, I'm not sure for definite about this, but I do believe that UCAS have started like online resources, whether it's like podcasts or videos or stuff, to address some of the topics we've discussed today. So about like, when you're applying to universities, what do you need to know? When you're going to universities, what should you do? The idea of like what to look out for on an open day, things like that, I think are super important. And UCAS definitely has given them a place. And even they've done like podcast series, I'm pretty sure they have, on like, when you're applying, like, these are the things that you should be thinking about, or like the importance of budgeting and, managing your finances when you're at university, and support on like when, you're doing the application, making sure, these are the sections that you need to work on. Even when you're doing the application itself, for the undergrad one, and, it's the same for the postgrad, they'll give you like prompts. So I know one of the things that always, stumbles people, including myself, is this idea, the idea of nationality, and then it's like nationality and something else. And I know, like, when I was doing it, doing my undergraduate, and even when I was, redoing the one for my postgrad, I was a bit like, the old nationality, and I forgot what the other one is. It's going to really annoy me, but it's like nationality and, like the country of origin and nationality, because I'm just like, which one do I put? Because I'm Nigerian, but I'm also British born. So yeah, it definitely, like, they do help, especially for students where, they might not necessarily, or, dual nationalities, or students where, nationality isn't usually the thing that they put on the survey. It's normally, gives you the options. They do really help with like giving you, a tip or hint on, or more information, I guess is the right thing to say, on what to do for these questions. So yeah, definitely they have to be the MC for this month. And for anyone applying, you most likely will be using UCAS, if not the university's own website to do these applications. But yeah, definitely check them out if you are, applying to university. And even if you're not, even if you feel like at this point you don't want to go to university, there's two aspects. If you want to apply later on, do check them out while you take, this gap year off of just reflecting on yourself. Use this as a time to, like Shilpa said, just prepare yourself for university. But also for anyone who's, you've decided you don't want to go to university at all, the lessons that they still talk about are still very relevant. Like we said, budgeting, managing your time efficiently, applications, you'll be doing job applications. And while it's not the exact same as a university application, some of the like transferable skills are the same. So yeah, definitely check out UCAS. And if you type them into Google, they're the first link they'll pop up. So yeah, you don't need to worry about not being able to find them. But yeah, they're our MC for the month. And yeah, I guess we've come to the end of the episode. I want to say a huge thank you. And you can't see it, obviously, because it's just audio, but we've got the hands clapping to say a huge thank you to Shilpa for today, because she's done a great job. So yeah, thank you very much for all the advice you've given today, Shilpa.
No problem. It's been such a pleasure, and you guys provided so much insight too. So I'm really excited to listen to the final episode.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, we are working on many things in the future, guys. And don't think this is the last time you've heard Shilpa on this podcast. She will, hopefully, if she's enjoyed our company, that is, and hopefully she has. She will be back in the future for some other stuff we're doing with the podcast, a future series, and we've got a surprise coming up. So keep an eye on the website and on the Instagram page for more information on that, guys. But yeah, we've come to the end of the episode. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Thank you for all the time you've put into this to listening to these podcasts. We really do appreciate it, and we really do appreciate the fact that you guys are are listening. You know, it's nice to know that you guys care about it. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best. Hope you're all doing okay, looking after yourselves and your well-being. And yeah, we will see you all soon. So take care and keep an eye out for the next episode.